Now, let's move forward. Now, what are the terms and the values of Agile? So the first value is people over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over rigid contracts, and responding to change rather than following a plan. So people over process and tools. This kind of gives you, a development-centric and client-centric environment, meaning just because you've been doing something in a traditional way for the past 8 years, it does not mean you don't really explore the options that you have right now. For example, whatever you did with PHP MySQL yesterday can also be done with Python and Flask today, right? I'm not saying change your entire application. What I'm saying is the model is pretty much people centric. The people, like the development team and the customers and the end users, are given more importance, and working software over comprehensive documentation. Now, this is something that all of us would have noticed at some point in time, right? So every application would have an internal document of how long? 100 pages, 150 pages about all the classes, all the methods, how the application is being built, and why the application is being built, who's the owner, and like plethora of other details that you as an individual is not even concerned about. You are concerned about what you have to build and how far along are you in that development task. So in Agile, the functional application is given much more importance than the documentation. Because if you think about it, the code itself is a documentation, right? If you knew how to interpret the code, you could look at the code and that can also act as a documentation. So I'm not saying there won't be any documentation. All I'm saying is the development is given more importance over the documentation part. And then customer collaboration over rigid contracts and responding to change rather than following the plan. So Agile is really feedback dependent, meaning back in the day, the managers and the product owners will have multiple meetings. They'll come up with the kind of software that they want. Everything would be discussed over like 3, 4 months, and then people would want to stick to the plan. Because you already spent 4 months planning this thing, now if you wanted to change even a little part of this, the entire meetings and planning would have to be done all over again. Now, Agile changes that. Agile works more on the feedback. Just because the plan has been made does not mean there cannot be any changes. Because you've broken things down into smaller chunk of tasks, any one of the tasks can be modified according to the requirements at any point in time. So these are the values that Agile bring to the table, right? So there are two parts of the puzzle. You have a benefit and then you have a value. So benefit is what you get like right off the bat, and value is what you derive out of it. So what we saw before were the values where everyone, on the table receives some or the other kind of benefit because of Agile. Principles of Agile: satisfied customer, welcome changing requirements, deliver working software frequently, frequent iterations with stakeholders, motivated individuals, face-to-face communications, measure by working software, maintain constant pace, sustain technical excellence and good design, keep it simple, empower self-organizing team, reflect and adjust continuously. Now, this might look more like a textbook thing, like here are the 10 benefits, just go with Agile. But that's not really the case. We are actually going to look at how all of this materializes, over the future slides, when we actually talk about how can you implement Agile in the working or the team that you're working with.